The pandemic COVID, it stopped the world. Over a period of 3 years, 15 million people died and destroyed many families. But thank God it's over. Unfortunately, now we are in a bigger pandemic, and that name of the pandemic is chronic inflammation. It's also called as a silent pandemic because most of us haven't heard about it. And sadly, it's also more devastating than the COVID pandemic. And here are the numbers so you get a perspective. COVID killed 5 million people a year. But chronic inflammation, it actually is killing 20 million people every year. Every year. Moreover, the diseases that are caused by chronic inflammation are responsible for 75% of all deaths that are happening today. And these diseases are consuming 90%, yes, 90% of all our healthcare costs. Imagine the burden. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is this pandemic has been going on for decades. And we need to do something about it, otherwise it'll get worse. Luckily, finally, the medical community and the medical establishment is paying attention to chronic inflammation. Last week, the Nobel Prize Committee for Medicine made a statement. It said that chronic inflammation is responsible for attacking our organs, and it is attacking our organs. And then they decided to give Nobel Prize for the discovery of the Treg cell. Treg cell is a special immune cell that decreases inflammation in our body. I'm so glad that they're finally paying attention to inflammation. But this is the interesting fact. Treg cell has been discovered 30 years ago. Finally, it's got its due. Better late than never, right? So, let's look at all the diseases that chronic inflammation is causing. Heart attacks, strokes, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, Crohn's, Parkinson's, autoimmune diseases, arthritis, and liver failure. The first three, heart attacks, strokes, and cancer, they are the number one killers as of today. So, extensive body of literature, scientific literature has shown that chronic inflammation is the primary driver for these diseases. And this is not an exhaustive list, by no means. There are many more conditions. So what's triggering this chronic inflammation in our bodies that is causing all these serious illnesses? Only 20% is from genetic predisposition. 80% is from the food we eat and our lifestyle. And of course, the process of aging and pollution. But the food and lifestyle controls a significant part of the chronic inflammation. And that we can control, so which means 80% or significant amount of chronic inflammation that's dwelling and burning inside us, we can control. So, are you serious about preventing any of these chronic illnesses? If you're serious, there is only one thing you can do, and that is lead a healthy lifestyle, adopt a healthy lifestyle. And this is how it looks like. You eat right, you do intermittent fasting, you exercise, you sleep well, you minimize stress, minimize toxic exposure, and enjoy your relationships with your family and friends. This is a snapshot, because this slide can lead to another 10 TED Talks, but we don't have time for that. But the bottom line is, leading a healthy lifestyle is very important. Now, you do the best that you can, and if you still get one of these diseases, unfortunately, previously that was a life sentence and you took this disease to your grave. Not anymore. Now there is a new medical innovation that can treat most of these diseases, and that is stem cells. Now, how do stem cells help in chronic inflammation? We need to understand chronic inflammation first. Chronic inflammation is caused when your immune cells are going rogue. What I mean by that is these immune cells are getting activated and they are going in overdrive. When that happens, these immune cells are secreting a lot of powerful, strong pro-inflammatory proteins which are damaging tissues and degenerating the organs. That is the fundamental pathophysiology of how chronic inflammation is causing all the diseases that we are suffering in modern age. So the nice thing is when you inject stem cells, they are amazing at regulating these cells and bringing down the activity of these cells, quieten these cells, calm these cells, so they can decrease and dramatically reduce the secretion of these dangerous proteins. Remember the Nobel Prize and remember the Tregs, which got the Nobel Prize for decreasing the inflammation? Stem cells can increase the number of Treg cells in your body. That's another way how they decrease inflammation. But with stem cells, you're getting 2 for 1. Stem cells also secrete a lot of regenerative proteins and anti-inflammatory proteins. These proteins also repair tissue damage and cause organ regeneration. There is no drug in the world now that can do both of these. And I can give you multiple anecdotes like this about how good stem cells are, but we need solid, robust scientific evidence. So back in March of 2020, just before COVID hit the US, we published the first article in US and second article in the world saying that stem cells can save lives of patients who are dying from COVID. This article went viral and it has been cited more than 250 times in the medical literature. And our intuition was right. Since our article was published, there have been 10 randomized controlled trials, which are high level, high quality trials from different parts of the world, showing that when patients have severe COVID, if you inject stem cells, they suppress inflammation, regenerate organs, especially the lungs, decrease hospitalization, and also decrease death, most importantly. There is no drug that can do that. So, if you want, these are all the list of diseases that are caused by chronic inflammation. Unfortunately, our current medical system is not equipped to treat most of these diseases. We don't have any answers. Stem cells, there is extensive animal evidence and also human evidence in human trials. This is early human trials showing that stem cells are both safe and can be effective. Now, stem cells are not a new kid on the block. They have been discovered 60 years ago. And there have been 50,000 scientific articles published about stem cells and 1,000 completed clinical trials showing that they're safe and in most conditions they're very helpful and effective. Stem cells have gotten the attention of even the World Economic Forum. They stated that stem cells are the medical innovation of the century. Now, what does Chandrayaan have to do with stem cells? We all know Chandrayaan was a very successful lunar space mission by the government of India. It's a spectacular scientific success at a fraction of the cost. The cost of stem cell therapy in the Western world is about 2 crores or 200,000 US dollars. That is for one dose. And usually we need multiple doses. That's more than $1 million. That's not affordable. That's not sustainable. So we have to do a Chandrayaan for the sake of India and for sake of the world. We can do that. In India, we can manufacture stem cells at a fraction of the cost without compromising on quality. For 3 years, we have been doing research at Aspire BioNest, which is an incubating center which is supported and funded by the government of India. In 3 years, we created a world-class stem cell line and also an exosome line. And we did first in the world animal trial. This was a very special trial because for the first time we combined stem cells and exosomes and showed that it can give excellent results by regenerating severe liver damage. This will be published very soon and has been accepted for publication. Next, with the support of the state government of Telangana, we have entered the first public-private partnership with NIMS, which is Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences, the first public-private partnership in the world to do stem cell research. We will be manufacturing GMP grade and clinical grade stem cells and exosomes to conduct clinical trials in liver failure and get drug approval, hopefully, so we can treat patients. Inflammaging. This is a new buzzword in the medical circles and it is getting a lot of traction from the anti-aging scientific community. What it basically means is the more inflammation you have a higher rate of aging. So in other words, if you decrease your inflammation in the body by either adopting a nice lifestyle, a good lifestyle, or with the help of stem cells, you can actually decrease the rate of aging. What does that mean? You can actually increase your lifespan. The current lifespan, average current lifespan in India is 72 years and in the US it is 78 years. So we can increase our lifespan, but more importantly, I'm interested in pushing our health span to the late 90s. How does that look like? So you're healthy, you have very little or no disease, you're agile mentally, you're very sharp mentally, you're fit physically, active physically, and you live a very independent life, and you live your life with dignity right till the very end. So, in other words, you die young at a very old age. Let that sink in for a second. You die young at a very old age. So, this chronic inflammation is a big curse in our lives. It's taking a big toll on you individually and on all of us as a society. We have to do something about it. You can do something about it. You can adopt a very healthy lifestyle. Do it for yourself, do it for your family, and do it for your country. And do the best that you can. If that is not good enough, and if you develop one of those serious debilitating diseases, no worries. You have a backup plan, and that's stem cells. Thank you.